Danielle,
Well,
do you need me to record? I'm sorry. Do you want, sometimes they want me to record, then send it over so you have both sides, or does that not matter? You're good.
oh, I mean, mine has worked fine. Okay.
Good.
I'm not,
Okay. Just,
so
just
don't
throwing
worry.
out that offer.
Okay. Well, good afternoon, listeners. Thank you for listening to Lament of Hope podcast. If you're enjoying these episodes, please do subscribe, as it is a huge help to inviting more guests and getting to hear more stories. But today I have on the podcast Jim O'Hare. And I'm really excited to speak with him because Parks and Recreation is my favorite show, and through some hard times, good times, it is one of the few shows that has made me laugh all the time, and I love watching it. Um, and Jim plays Jerry Gergich, who is, as everyone knows, he's a very lovable character, but nobody really respects him very much, which is unfortunate. Um, but I mean, Jim has written a book about his experience on Parks and Rec. He was in Chicago theater in the late 80s to early 90s. He's done several TV show appearances and he's been in films. So he's done a whole bunch of stuff. And actually, right before we started, he was telling me about a foundation that he's actually advocating for in a week or so. Jim, can you actually share? You're going to be in DC, you said early March?
Early March. It's called March on the Hill, and it's when a bunch of rare diseases, they go door to door, to the senators and whoever that can potentially fight for us to help get funding for the disease. Now, the one I'm involved with is called the Tuberous Sclerosis Alliance, because the tuberous sclerosis complex is a disease. You're born with it, and it is rare. But there's a lot of people with it, and they have found in the past few years it's also associated with autism. So, and autism is such a I don't know, the term is a buzzword, because that's something people know a lot about. But the we will spend one full day going from office to office explaining the situation, telling them different stories about families. There will be families with us while we go to these offices. There will be children who have this disease and they grow up to be adults. Sadly, some don't make it to be an adult because it depends on how they're affected by the disease. But as I mentioned to you, the thing that I love is the research they're doing for this disease is I mean, the money we're getting and using is being used wisely. Since I've been involved, just in the short, I think it's 13 to 15 years ago, whatever it is, they have come up with medication so that children who are born with this and can have up to 200 seizures a day are now seizure free. They're called infantile spasms, and they have not eradicated. They're not gone. There's some kids, the meds don't work, but it's like I'm going to say it's in the high 80% that it does work, and that's a game changer. And just the other a couple of months ago, I was at some event, and a kid came up to me. I think he's 21 now, and he had a chip, and it was kind of like the chip, like a somebody, how in AA people get a chip after they've been sober for 30 days, 60 days, years, whatever it is. And he handed me a chip, and his chip said, "I've been seizure free for 4 years." Like that's
Wow.
amazing. That's
Yeah.
amazing because other before those 4 years, how do you live a life when you don't know when you're going to start seizing? You can't have a normal life, and so amazing things have been done. So yeah, I'm proud to be associated with them. They're just good people. They're good people.
What gave you specific empathy for that particular disease? Because as you said before, I mean, there's so many different types of foundations and charities and causes. What particularly drew you to this particular one?
Well, I will tell you a very embarrassing story, and now and then that'll lead to what happened. So, my publicist has called and said, "Oh, there's this organization. They're trying to get some people on the red carpet. Because if you get some people with, have some recognition, it helps with press and getting the word out there and all that kind of stuff." And he said it's for a children's disease, and I was like, "Oh my God, of course." So I go to this event, and this is many, many years ago, and I'm doing the red carpet, and one of the interviewers said to me, "So Jim, what are your thoughts on the Tuberous Sclerosis Alliance?" And I said, and I am embarrassed, but this is what happened. I said, I thought we cured it. And she goes, "What do you mean?" I said, "Didn't we cure
Oh,
tuberculosis?" I was there. I didn't even know what the hell I was there for. It was so, and I felt like such an idiot, like such a dumbass, because I was. I felt the correct way that I should have felt. But they're like, "Well, no, this is tuberculosis." Anyway, so I got through that, and then I went into the event. And the event started with different videos of families and what they've been through. And there's no way any human could sit there and watch what I saw and not be affected. I mean, it's an amazing organization. Now, this one, why this one over others? It's just this is the one I ended up at. To be perfectly honest, I mean, I am a bit of an empath, and so I can my heart can break real easily for all sorts of different things. But it happened to be this at that day, and so then they have an annual event called Comedy for a Cure. And I've been involved with that, and it's every April. And last year we had Billy Gardell was our headliner. Oh shoot, this year, oh, I'm blanking. I'm looking right at his face. I can't think of it. But it's a great night of comedy, but it's comedy for a cure. So it's also a fundraiser. So we
hmm.
have comedians, and then we have a live auction and a silent auction. It's really great. And then this past December, no, this past October was their 50th anniversary.
Wow.
So I went to New York for the celebration, and it was mind blowing the money that was raised. And again, it's a rare disease. It's hard to raise money for these. And by the end of the night, they had raised $1.5 million. Now, again, your big diseases, they don't think anything of that. But for this organization, that's a lot of money. And it will go to a lot of families and it will help with a lot of research. So it's really important. But yeah, I'm with them because of timing. I just ended up on a red carpet thinking I was there for something else. And even when I think about it, I knew I was going for a kids event, like it had something to do with children. So why did I think tuberculosis? I don't think that's a children's disease. I'm just an idiot, Danielle. That's the bottom line.
Well, but it doesn't sound like your publicist gave you a lot of information.
Or he did, and I just was like, okay, and I didn't pay much attention. Believe me, that's more the possibility.
Well, I was gonna ask you because your character is very empathetic on Parks and Rec,
Yeah.
which I think is so endearing about him. He's so like cares so deeply. But he's also, I mean, like you mentioned, sometimes he's oblivious to like things that, maybe social cues or
Social
whatever it
cues,
is.
exactly. Yes.
Yeah. But so to play the character, did you find that it was hard? Like, was your personality very different from him? Or,
I would say the big difference between me and Jerry, because first of all, I do believe every actor, you bring a big chunk of yourself to any role you play. How can you not? I'm Jim O'Hare. This is who I am. And, now there's some actors, and I think they're few and far between, and I wish I was one of them, but I'm not, who literally transform. Like a Meryl Streep, she transforms physically, like she just becomes this other person, and she's one of many. Um, but I bring what I bring. I have actors have their certain style. There's actors I could point out and say, watch for this. They always do this. Watch for this. They always do this. Because it's what it comforts us or why ever we use it. But so I always say the big difference between me and Jerry, I would think is our sense of humor because Jim O'Hare can go blue. I have a very dark sense of humor. I like it's almost impossible to offend me with a joke because if it's told without being malicious or without bad intent, I am all in. Is where Jerry wouldn't get that. Jerry would not understand that. So I think that's the big difference. I definitely am empathetic. I'm a soft touch, as my family will say. So yeah, I'm like Jerry like that. But yeah, I would say mostly it's how we would handle ourselves in the outside world with what's funny and what's not funny and uh, appropriate, not appropriate. Because to me, I've always said, know the room. Like I could be with my poker buddies. and the conversation can get dark and dirty, and but we're laughing our butts off. Well, I'm not going to have those same conversations with my family. Like we're not gonna, you know what I mean? Like know your room, know the people you're with. So yeah, I don't. I think Jerry is Jerry 24/7, and doesn't know the room, and he just says whatever he says. But that being said, I think he's a pretty great guy and knows what's important in life, and that's his family and his friends. And I think he shows that every day.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. That's when, I mean, because I don't think Parks and Rec even was trying to make you not like him. He was just a different type of comedic character than everyone
Yeah.
else. But he was so sweet that like sometimes you just couldn't help but almost tear up because it was just so kind to people. But
When they weren't being kind to him. Yeah,
yeah,
like he just took
exactly.
it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But you know the Mike Short and Greg Daniels co-created Parks, and Mike, at the beginning of the show, once they figured out who Jerry was going to be, which was going to be kind of the office punching bag, and he said they were the writing room. It's all they could do was write different mean things to do to Jerry. He goes, it's so fun to write. And it's quick, and they're just right. So one day he's like, "Okay, guys, we got to write other stuff." And also, I'm sorry, there was a beep of some sort on my end, I think. But also, at some point, he said, if we want this character to stick around, we got to give him something to live for. Like, because at this point, it seems like things aren't great. And that's when they introduced his beautiful wife, his beautiful kids, and we
Yeah.
realize that's that Jerry has it all. He has, I mean, compared to the rest of them, he has it all. He's got a family who adores him. I mean, absolutely adores him. So they wanted to give Jerry this amazing life, and they did. And as much as Jerry knows he's the office punching bag, he still loves every one of those people in that room, in his office. But he also knows to him, and everyone has different priorities in life, but to Jerry, it's that his wife and those kids. And he's going to go home to them at 5 o'clock, and they think the world of him. There's an episode where Leslie shows up at the house, and that's the famous eggs, bacon, and toast breakfast, and she sees like, wow, Jerry does have it all. I show her pictures of vacations and things the family have done together over the years, and it's good. It's really good, and that was Mike going. We have to give him something, otherwise he's going to kill himself. Like if he's just the punching bag, that's not going to work. So they gave Jerry everything, and not, spoiler alert, it's been 15 years or 10 years since we've been off the air, but the finale, Jerry's going away, was sensational, absolutely sensational. He's the mayor forever and ever and ever, and yeah, so they took care of him. But yeah, but to get back to your main thing, I think, boy, if there were more Jerrys in the world, we would have a much kinder world. That is for sure. He's a kinder man than me. He's I don't know. Like my life is so unlike Jerry's. I never know where I'm going to be. Like right now, I've been shooting a show. When does this come out? Can I say when does this come air? When will this air?
Oh, like probably 2 weeks from now.
Okay, then I can't say what I'm working on because I don't think it comes out for a little bit. But anyway, so and then a couple weeks ago I was in Louisville, and then I was in Detroit. Like I never know. My life is very crazy, and I love that. I absolutely love it. I love working. I love new sets. I love meeting new people. It's all lovely. Jerry's world is very. He wakes up. He has his breakfast with his family. He goes to work. He comes home. It's very regimented, and there's nothing wrong with that. Me, Jim O'Hare, mm, I like the call that says, "Oh, you're heading to like this past summer. I did a film in Spain. How great was that? Like all of a sudden, I'm on a plane to Spain. Oh, and I'm in rhyme now, Danielle. I was on a plane to Spain. Oh wait, that does rhyme. Anyway, so I love it. So that's where Jerry and I are very different. Jim O'Hare likes to just see what's going to happen the next day, get a phone call, and you're off to do something else. And I love that.
Why do you think you love that type of spontaneity? Because for many people, that would be kind of scary. I mean, like, I know for me, I love schedules. So, like, if someone calls me and says, actually, you got to erase that and do something else, I go through this, like, mental brain fog moment and, like, paralyzation. And then I get through it and I'm like, okay, then I'll change it, you know?
Right? No, a lot of people are like that. I have a brother who will say to me, I don't know how you do what you do. He doesn't understand how I get up in front of people. He doesn't understand how I just, and the moment's notice, get on a plane. I don't know. The nice, the other thing is I love to travel. So when I do these gigs, like with Spain, I ended up then spending another week in Spain after I wrapped. Like I'm in Spain on someone else's dime. What the hell? Just take a look around. So I did. I don't know, but I've always been that way. I used to, when I was in Chicago, when I was starting out, I had a day job, 8 to 5. Wow, that did not rock my world. And the people were great. I worked for a wonderful company. It was all good, but it just never rocked my world like that every day the same thing. And for some people, that's comforting. Um, I don't know, just my personality, however I was born, I want to be like, where are we going? What are we doing? And so I've been blessed that that's what it turned out to be. Though, the thing about being an actor, unless you're right out of the gate, you're a A-list celebrity, and then maybe that's different. But in general, when you start out, you're looking for every job, you're begging for every job, you're auditioning for everything. There's so much unknown. You don't know what your money's going to look like because you could go years without booking a gig. And if you're doing theater, generally, if you're new and you're doing theater, you're paying to like you're helping pay for sets and stuff like that because the theaters don't have any money. So it's a crazy passion, and I do call it a passion because it was in my, I knew the moment. I knew literally the moment when I said, "Oh wow, this is what I need to do always." And I was at Second City. It was my first day of class, and I didn't know anybody. I was terrified. And Second City in Chicago is the infamous place where like Bill Murray and Belushi and all of the men and women who have a lot of the comedy people started out. And I got on stage that first day and I got my first laugh. And something just like warmed up inside my body. And I'm like, oh, I love this. I love this. And I remember thinking, I will do this the rest of my life. Now, I never in a million years said that thinking it will pay my bills. I just meant I'll take classes or I'll do something because I really love this. So the fact that it turned out to pay my bills is still shocking, but it did. So yeah, yeah. Young people will say when they're starting out, "Oh well, how do I do it? How do I do it?" There's no one set path, but I will always say, if you have a passion, if it's in your heart, you at least have to try. I mean, you just have to because the old thing people say, you don't want to be later in life and look back and go, "What if? What if? What if?" Because we're all going to have what ifs, just in general. But uh, when I went to college out of high school, and I was a decent student, but I didn't know I had no idea what I wanted to do. So here's how pathetic I was. I ended up going to college, Loyola University in Chicago, for accounting. Now, I had no more interest in accounting than anything, but buddies of mine were going for accounting, and I'm like, well, I guess that sounds like a good career. Like I had no path, I knew nothing. So if I had just stuck with that, and there's a chance I could have, I would have done it. Was an okay student. Maybe I would have been an accountant my whole life. And there's nothing wrong with accountants. I love my accountant. I've had him for 20 something years. I couldn't survive without him. But boy, I don't want to do that job. That is not a job I want to do. And yet I could have ended up in that type of situation because I could have, not to rock the boat, get a steady job, steady income, do the path that everyone thinks you're supposed to do. But thankfully, for me, the big change was while I was going to school at Loyola, they had a radio station and they were asking for volunteers because they couldn't fill it. They couldn't fill the time slots. And so I thought, oh, that sounds kind of cool. And I started working at the radio station, WLUW in Chicago. and you could do whatever you wanted. I don't think anyone was listening. I mean, it was this small little station. Anyway, it was a college radio station. But I really got that feeling of, oh, this is kind of fun. Like this is getting the juices flowing, as opposed to sitting in class hearing about debits and credits and all the other stuff that, goes along with being an accountant. So I'm forever grateful to myself that I didn't just follow the path that seemed very easy. Not easy. Becoming an accountant is not easy, but it would have been the easier path as far as security. I guess I mean that.
Yes. Yeah.
Because there is the path I took had no security. That being said, and I talk about this in the book, there are people who will like take the big jump and they move to LA and they have nothing to fall back on, nothing. But Danielle, in my case, if I had moved to LA and everything blew up and it just went to hell real quick, I had family back in Chicago who would have welcomed me with open arms. So I never, there are people who have no one to turn to. I never would have been in that situation. And so, in a way, I had like a fallback, even though I never thought about that. I never wanted that. And thankfully that didn't happen. Um, but I wouldn't have been without. I would never have had to live on the streets. I would never have had to beg, borrowed, and stealed for a meal because I had family that to this day, we're all super tight. So that would make me more fortunate than others who have family, people telling them, don't go, that's a silly career, don't do this, it's stupid, all this kind of stuff, and say, well, then you're on your own and don't look to us.
Hmm.
That's tough. That's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of people, that's how they show up in LA or New York, wherever they're going to start the career. So I was fortunate, really, really fortunate. And also, um, I'm so happy that I mean, we've always all been there for each other as siblings and when my parents were alive and everything, but
Yeah.
none of us have ever had to, I've never had to call and say, can I come stay with you? I don't have a roof over my head. I've always, since I landed in LA August 4th, 1994, and I proudly say I've never had to do anything other than be an actor to pay my bills. Now, some years were way tougher than others, and thankfully, the better years helped pay for the the tougher years. But I was always, I always had some stuff going on, and so I'm grateful for that.
Is it hard now when you were talking about how you have a spontaneous schedule? Is it hard on your family now that you're moving around so much?
It can get crazy hard. Perfect example. I was supposed to go on a family trip. February, when were we leaving? It doesn't matter. But I couldn't go because we got an offer to do a job. It's which I can't say the name just because this is going to air before that, and then I get in trouble. I've done that before where I've announced things. They're like, "What are you? You're not supposed to talk about that." But this is a TV show, and it's a big two-part season finale, and it's big. There's a lot of stuff going on with it. It's big. Um, but my family knows me. They know I love it, and they're like, "We get it." And they went off to Florida, and I stayed here and I worked. Uh, but we also do get a lot of, we have a place in Palm Springs, so we go to Palm Springs a lot together. So there's a lot of togetherness. But when there's work, I take it because I'm grateful. There's a statistic out there that at any one point, only 2% of Screen Actors Guild members are working at one time.
Wow.
2%. Think about that number. That is a terrifying number. It's so low. So when I'm part of that 2%, and I'm grateful to say a lot of times I am part of that 2%, I don't take it for granted. And so if my manager calls and says, listen, they want you to do ABC, if it's a project I like, you read the script, you make sure you're into it and all that kind of stuff. But I'm going to make it happen. I can go to Florida when the gig is over, or I can plan another time to go to Florida. Uh, I'm grateful. I'm just so grateful. That's why I've never understood when I am on set, and sometimes you work with people who are just pains in the ass, just people who aren't very pleasant. And I've never understood it because if you're part of that 2%, you should be the most grateful person walking the planet because you're working as an actor, which I'm guessing you love because that's the career you're in. Hopefully you love it. And you're one of the few that are actually working. Um, that's why, for Parks, we did 7 seasons on Parks, 126 episodes. There wasn't one of us there, not one of us, who wasn't grateful every day that we were on a TV series, and not just the fact that we were working, but a show that broke through. Like, believe me, I've done a million shows that will never see the light of day because they don't. You'd shoot them, maybe you do 10 episodes and then it gets pulled. A million reasons why they're never seen again.
Hmm.
But with Parks, we are still out there. We are 10 years off the air, and we are still one of the most popular streaming shows. We're on TV stations in different markets. So that is something that is, wow, talk about luck of the draw. And we are all so grateful for it. So we had 7 years of people who showed up on set smiling, ready to work, having a good time, doing good work. And, over 7 years, life happens and there's deaths and there's divorces and sad things happen. No one ever brought it on set. Now, there were
Hmm.
probably tears in the dressing rooms because, we live in our lives and we're talking and telling our stories to our fellow castmates, and there's days that are upsetting. But on set, everybody was grateful and happy to be there. And I really have a problem when I go on sets and I don't see that. Like the show I'm working on right now, it's lovely. You can tell everyone is like, wow. Because I think this is a series that's going to stick around for a while, and that's always exciting. And I just love to see it because I've also been on sets where no one's talking to each other, and this one's mad at this one, and this one's jealous because he was on one of the talk shows last night and he wasn't, and or she got this and he didn't get it, or whatever the reasons being. And that kind of stuff just makes me crazy, Danielle. It makes me crazy.
Well, I was gonna ask because like you said, you can go really long with these dry periods, maybe, right? Where you're not doing maybe the show of your dreams, or maybe you're not doing anything. Is there, like for you, what do you kind of find your value in as a person? Like when you're not able to do the thing you love, which a lot of people, you put your identity in it because it's what you do every day. And it's kind of like when people associate you with that. And so, it's the same for you. But is there something that steadies your boat when things aren't going the way you really want them to go?
Wow, that's a deep question. I've never really thought about that. I keep myself busy. I like to do that. I'm a reader. I'm a TV watcher. So I have things to occupy my time. I love to go to the movies. I could go to a movie every single day at the theater. So I do that kind of thing. And uh, but yeah, it's interesting as you say it. I identify, I'm Jim O'Heir, the actor guy, and when there are lulls, you can easily get yourself into the, oh my God, I'm never going to work again mode. And that's pretty scary. Um, and, I just turned 63. So also at the point in my life where, if I hope this isn't the case, but if next week no one ever hires me again, I'll be okay. I got my pensions and my, savings, and I'll be good. But I don't want that. I want to work. I want to be on sets. That is a big part of who I am. So, uh, yeah, I don't. That's a question I have to put some thought into because I haven't had to face it yet. Like I haven't had to face. I mean, I've faced periods of time without work, but not months and months. Well, again, then during the strike, we were off for a long time, but then I was on
Yeah.
picket lines every day. So, and talking to other actors. And so that was, we were, my God, I was busier than ever during the strike. Um, but in general, there's always something on the horizon. Like I just booked, there's a theater I've worked in a number of times in Kansas City. It's called the New Theater. And it's this amazing regional theater. It's like 650 seats. They sell out 8 shows a week. It's a Broadway schedule. It's just amazing. So I just signed a contract. I'm going to go back with them for 3 months at the end of the year. So I've been blessed to always have things happening.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't have the right answer because the blessing is I haven't had such long periods without work. I mean, other than like COVID, of course, we were all out. I was out for over a year for COVID, but then, like everybody else, I'm just sitting at home, trying to figure out what's happening in the world and are we going
Right.
to survive this?
Yeah.
So yeah, I haven't had to face that yet, like really head on. But as I get older, we'll see. Because when I was younger, I went gray when I was 30, and my mother was gray when she was young. It was just hereditary. And so I thought, well, this is crazy. I'm not, my God, this is going to stop me from getting work. So I would go to the local whatever grocery store and get the hair dye, the hair color, whatever, and color my hair. And after like a year, I thought, this is a huge pain in the ass. I'm not, I hate this. So I let my hair go gray. And Danielle, ever since I let my hair go gray, which was my mid 30s, uh, the work just kept coming in. So all of a sudden, I could be a doctor or a lawyer or a million different things. And so I think as I get older, what seems to be happening, we'll see, time will tell if it continues. Now I'm the judge, I'm the grandpa, I'm the film I did in Spain. I'm the husband whose wife left him after 35 years. Like there's all these there's all these older roles that are now out there, and I'm hoping that I slide into a bunch of them. Uh, Again, time will tell. Because yeah, I don't know. Like if someone said to me right now, "We just got a phone call, and Hollywood has decided you're never working again," like, hey, I don't want that phone call. If that phone call happened, I don't know what I would do. I really, really don't. And again, it wouldn't be. It's not like I'd be panicked. Like, how am I going to pay my bills?
It would just be sad.
It would be sad, and this is who I
Yeah.
am. Like this is what I do. I love being on set. I love a soundstage. We've been shooting. I think I can say this. We've been shooting location for this show I'm working on now, and there's this big disaster that happens, and we're like we're running around in filth and like it's crazy. And I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. We're like your shoes are screwed up because you've been walking in mud and like, showbiz. The other night we wrapped at 2 a.m. and it started raining and people are running. I'm like, this is cool. Like, so yeah, like if all of a sudden that went away, I would be very sad. I'm guessing I would go to therapy. I don't know. I really don't know. But I'm grateful to say that since April 4th, 1994, August 4th, 1994, I've worked enough to never not work, if you know what I mean. There were certainly
Yeah.
dry stretches, but never enough that I had to do something else. Never enough because when I was younger, my God, I had to pay the bills. Where now, at my age, you've saved. I've done shows that have paid well and films that have paid well, and there's residuals. You keep getting money for different things you've done. But when I started out, you know, I was hand to mouth, as they say. But luckily, when I did, I think it might have been Kimmel. It might have been Seth. It was either Seth Meyers or Kimmel. And I was, just guesting one night. And their first question they said to me is, "What show haven't you been on?" And I just started laughing because I am kind of the king of the guest stars. If you look me up on IMDb, I have been on a lot of different shows over the years.
Yeah.
So, and those are nice because even a guest spot, you do a guest spot, and if it's for a network program, you make your money when you shoot it. Then they rerun it. You get it again. You get paid again. And then if it goes into syndicate, like I still get money for ER and like Friends and I mean shows that you haven't seen. Yeah, I mean Friends is still out there, but I'm just saying I still get paid for those kind of shows. So yeah, that's been grateful. I've probably gone on a whole different tangent, and you're like, "What the hell is he even talking about?" I apologize, Danielle.
No, I was gonna say you shouldn't feel. I hope you don't feel bad about the gray hair thing because I already found gray hair when I was 18. That's when I
Yeah,
started.
it can happen. And now, do you color
Yeah.
your hair? It's not where you have to color your hair.
I have dyed it, not because I have to, but because I've always thought brown hair by itself was kind of plain.
Oh, so you put the what is that word? Highlights.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
I know the words.
But I think everyone nowadays gets older faster in spirit.
Yes, well, we're also going through a lot. You know, there's a
Yeah.
lot we're all dealing with these days. There have been, I mean, when you think about it, we have been through a pandemic. Think about that. We've been through a pandemic. That is something you heard about in movies, you read about in books. That
Yeah.
is not something anyone lives through. How could that be? That's a made up thing that people experience in TV, film, and books. No, we lived through it. And sadly, millions did not live through it. They did not survive it. And I mean, you know, and not to get political, but we are now in a very, in my opinion, terrifying state of affairs with our country now, which scares me. So yeah, no, we've all lived a lot in a much shorter amount of time. So, and yet I just heard, I think the average woman now, and this is average, which means many will live much older. It's like 85. That's pretty great.
What
That's
about for
pretty.
men? Is it the
I think
same?
men is still like 78, 79-ish. We're definitely lower. Um, but I've also read that there is scientifically, they think there are people born now who will live generally to see 120. That won't be shocking, which would all be amazing if you're
Wow.
healthy. Like I don't want to be 120 if I'm, laying in a bed on tubes. That's not a life I would ever want to live. But on Parks and Rec, Chris Traeger, played by Rob Lowe, his character assumed he was going to be the first person to live to be 120.
Yeah.
So maybe it's Rob Lowe. Who knows? He looks amazing. It could be Rob Lowe.
Yeah, he was in good shape. I actually resonate a lot with his health anxiety.
Oh, really?
Absolutely. I'm afraid of everything that you're gonna get sick and then you're gonna
Yeah.
die. Like when he
Well,
said that he had tendonitis, you remember, and he was like, "Does
yes.
that what does that mean?" Like, how do you fix that? And the man's like, "No, you're all getting older." And he thought like that was it.
He doesn't want to hear that. Well,
No.
what's happening now is, at least certainly for me and my friends, the minute we get an acre of pain, we go to Google. And everything on Google leads
Yeah.
to death. Everything leads to cancer and death. Every,
Yes.
like, oh, I type in my finger has a stinging, whatever, whatever. It doesn't say, oh, a bug bite. It will lead to cancer. It will,
Okay.
everything leads to death. So, and every doctor, I don't go to that many doctors, but every doctor that I know, is always like, don't go on the internet. Don't go on. But we're human. It's out there, and we think we're going to figure it out on our own.
Yeah, well, you want answers, right? Right away.
Yes. Well,
Yeah.
now you're young. I don't know how much you doctor, but I'm older. I go for my this, that, and I got this thing going on, that thing. Thankfully nothing crazy, but you still have to doctor for it. And now test results are posted before you've spoken to your doctor.
Yes.
And I don't think it's good. And I'm like everybody. The minute I get that notice, oh, you have test results in your health area, that you go to on the internet. Because one time I read it and I thought, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, this is it. Like this is horrendous, horrendous. So but I wasn't supposed to see him for like another week. I call over to the office. I said, has he seen these test results? And they said, oh, well, we'll check in with him, blah, blah, blah. He leaves me a message on the portal. You can type message, you can speak
Yeah.
to the doctors and stuff. And he said, Jim, I heard you're concerned about your test results. I just saw them. They're perfect. What is your concern? I'm thinking, perfect. I just saw this, blah, blah, blah. Well, because I don't know what I'm reading. I know nothing about what I'm reading. So I took
Yes.
this one statement that is a general statement that apparently is on all blood tests that I was out of here. Like this was the worst thing ever. So it's not good. It's not good that we see it in advance, and especially like my sister. And thank God she's doing great. It's been 7 years, but she had lung cancer, and so she does. She gets a scan. Well, now it's only maybe once a year, but those scan results come out before she's spoken to the doctor, and
Oh.
it's because it'll say, oh, we see this and this. Well, a lot of that means nothing because we're just people who don't understand it, but we see words that scare us. And yeah, so I don't know. It's a good thing and a bad thing to be able to see these in advance. And I'm very mixed about that whole thing.
Well, sometimes though I've had experiences where doctors can be very dramatic and they scare you.
Oh, I don't like that. No, 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 I
And
don't like
that
that.
that was I remember particularly when I was little, I would get ear infections quite often. Like I just would. And my mom was pretty used to it and she took me to the doctor. And most doctors would just go, "Yeah, she's young. She whatever, here's the medicine, she'll be okay." And then this one doctor that I saw came in. She looked at it and she said, "Oh my gosh, this is the worst ear infection I've ever seen in my life."
Oh,
And my mom looked at her and said, "How long have you been a doctor?" She was like, "Oh, well, 2 years." She's like, "So how many ear infections have you seen?" She was
see.
like two?
Wow. Wow. Well, listen to this. When my sister was diagnosed with lung cancer, she went in, which actually is a whole long story, but it was her manicurist who got her going to the doctor because her fingers started changing. And apparently that's a sign of lung cancer, which I had never heard of. It's called
Wow.
clubbing, the fingers club or something like that. But anyway, so she goes in, they do the tests. Her and her husband are sitting there, and the doctor walks in and he explains you have lung cancer. And he said, you need to get your affairs in order. Like he basically was telling her, you're not going to get through this. So they left there, and of course they're just crushed. They have two kids. They don't know what to do. He set them up with an oncologist the following Monday. She goes to the oncologist who says to her, "Oh, I think you'll be fine." So she had the one idiot who knows nothing about. I mean, he saw it on a scan, but he's not a oncologist. He doesn't know
Yeah.
what the plan is. But he wanted to say to her, "You need to get your affairs in order." Like he's basically said to her, "You're not going to survive this."
Yeah.
Like, why, first of all, why would you want to say that to somebody? If I were a doctor and I could push off telling people that type of news onto another doctor, I would do it because I don't want to tell somebody, get your affairs in order. This is bad. But he felt the need to tell her. And so they had 3 to 4 days of soul crushing circumstances. Like, what are we going to do? And what are we got to do this? And how are we going to tell the kids? And blah, 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 blah to a doctor going, I think you'll be okay. And she is. 7 years later, she's fine. So, yeah, it's doctors can be over dramatic too. And the last thing I want is an over dramatic doctor. I want a doctor who goes, it'll be okay. Like, who's just very like, yeah, we get it. We'll treat this. You'll be fine. Like, that's the kind of doctor I want.
Those are usually the ones who've been doctors a really long time.
Yes. And they've been there, done it, and they've seen it all. Yeah. For your guy to go, my second ear infection. Well, yes, it probably is the worst one you've ever seen because you've seen two. Oh
I know
gosh.
it helped. It helped when my mom asked those questions for me because I got really scared.
Yeah.
But I was gonna ask you, what do you think's the most discouraging thing someone said to you that you really remember? Because I know there are things, and it doesn't have to be a doctor, but like, is there a sentence, and obviously you don't have to say who it is or whatever,
Yeah.
but that was like, you'll never forget it.
There's a couple reviews out there that I will never forget. Some that make me laugh and some that were just hurtful because I have been, a big guy, fat, large, whatever word people want to use. None of them bother me either way. Husky when I was a kid. He's a husky boy. Um, uh, it would make me crazy that every review would mention my size, whether it had anything to do with the role I'm playing or not. Like the uh oh my God, the grotesque, the ursine, I mean, like using words like really that has nothing to do with
Wow.
this character. So yeah, so there have been comments like that over the years. But then there was also a review that this sentence has stuck in my head forever. I did this play called Stumpy's Gang, and it was crazy. Blood and puppets, and it was nuts. But I also call it it's the play that got me to LA and got me my career. But it was pretty wild. And one of the reviews said, this is one of the quotes. Though Jim O'Hare, and this is absolutely the quote because I it's been burned in my head forever. Though Jim O'Hare seems like a nice enough fellow, what he's doing on stage, he should be embarrassed to do in the privacy of his own home. Like, damn, that is nasty. But I thought it was really funny. I thought it was like, I mean, we affected this woman. It was a female journalist, reviewer, and obviously we we affected her because that's a pretty powerful sentence. But other than that, I would say the one time, I'm not going to say who this is, not that anyone would know him, but if anyone listening who knows me and my world, when I left Chicago to go to LA, there was one boss that I had because in Chicago I was working every day. I had to, pay my rent, and then I would do theater at night. That's what I did. And then you audition for the occasional commercial that comes in town or whatever. But generally 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, theater at night. That was my world. And then, but now we're going to go to my comedy group where we're going to take this show to LA and just see what happens. And I'm leaving the day that I'm leaving this job. There were I don't want to be too specific, but anyway, there was some amazing people there. One of the bosses to this day is one of my dear friends. But one of the other guys, as I'm leaving in front of everybody, said, he'll be back. And it was with
Oh, wow.
such nastiness in his voice. It wasn't like joking, like, oh, you'll be back. No, it was you'll be back. Like, and I know he didn't want me to leave because I was a good employee and I did my job. So I get that. But it was snotty and nasty. And I will tell you, I just had this conversation recently. Somebody said, I was out with other actors and whatever. And someone said, don't you love that, like, since you've have had a successful career, the don't you love it? Like you can look at the doubters and go, aha, look at me. I really don't ever feel that way, except with this dude. I do love it. And one time, after many years after I had left there, I was in Chicago, and one of them, I was going to meet for lunch. One of the people I worked with, who was still at that company. So I go in. I'm going to pick her up for lunch, and he's there, and his kids are now working there. And his kids were so excited that I was there. They were like, "Can I get a picture?" Blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I loved every second of it because not only didn't I come back, dude, I did okay. I did okay that your kids are like out of their minds that I'm here right now. But he's kind of the only one I like. I don't feel that way with other actors who, you know, at the time might have been kind of the hot shot for a while, and then it didn't work out or whatever. I don't have any of those feelings. I don't have many of that, like, oh, look at me, I did okay. I really don't, other than with this dude. I do have it with that dude. It's like, screw you, dude. I didn't come back and I did just fine. But so yeah, that one hurt. And also it was embarrassing because it was in front of, a big group of people. But other than that, I've been on sets where a director gives you a note and you're thinking, oh God, they're hating what I'm doing. They don't think I can do this. But that's more my own stuff in my own head.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, but no, but that one moment is the one that would stick out.
Well, I was gonna say, it would sound more like maybe he was doing what he didn't like as much, and so seeing you getting to try doing something was hard for him.
Yeah, and I
Not that
want
what he did was wrong, nice. It wasn't.
no, it wasn't. And I think he was he was a blowhard. It's an old expression. He was a blowhard, about what he had. Oh yeah, we went and got this weekend, and he's talking to people. Me and there was other actors in the office. People just working a day job trying to pay their bills, and it's like, we we didn't have the new watch. We didn't have the trip to, him and the wife went to Aspen for the weekend. We didn't have it. We were poor. And when you throw that into people's faces who don't have that, what is that? Like, if you want to brag amongst your other wealthy friends, brag. I don't care. Do you? But to do it to people who have, you know, they're young and they're starting out and don't have much, I don't know. Not my cup of tea. It'd be like if now, I don't know. Like there's some actors on the set that I'm working with now. They're super young, and it's for one of them, it's their first big job, which is like so exciting, like so incredibly exciting.
Yeah.
But it would be like if I was like, oh well, this is really nothing because now I'm also working on blah 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 or blah. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't do that. Who would do that? Because they're just starting out and they're making it happen, and I think they're going to do great. And um, yeah, I don't know. I think that type of stuff is insecurity. I think, and in the acting world, insecurity, that's all of our middle names, because there's very little security in this business. But anyway, so yeah, but he was the one that just really kind of burned my butt, kind of ticked me off.
Well, it's cool to see that you didn't let it affect you to the point where you were like, "Oh, I'll give up. It
Oh
won't
gosh, no.
work."
And as a matter of fact, and and this is where my pettiness comes in because it was very petty. I took a cab. I was at whatever hotel I was at in Chicago. I took a cab to go meet this woman at the office that I was going to meet for lunch, and the cabbie wouldn't take my money. He goes, "I love you so much, and you're so funny
Oh,
on the show. This is my treat," which is so lovely, and I don't want that. I that makes me crazy almost like because I've gone to restaurants where they wouldn't let me pay. Well, then I can never go back there because I would never want them to think I'm
I'll
showing up
just
for a free meal. My God, I would never do that. I'm very fortunate. I'm happy to pay for my meals. And anyway, so the cabbie would not even let me pay for the cab ride. So I get up and, he comes walking out of his office and his kids are all excited. And he's like, "Oh, look at you." I go, "Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I couldn't even pay for my cab right now because that guy was so excited to meet me," which is such a petty thing to say. And I would never share that with other people, but I felt like I needed to give him a dig and I don't know, like a ha ha, I did good, even though you said I wouldn't, which I know is childish, but it was a thankfully a fleeting moment. I did it and then I moved on.
that's a very un-Jerry thing to do.
It is a very Jerry thing. I'm not going to argue that. Yes.
Well, it's been so great, Jim, to talk with you. And I want to say two things. One, your voice is perfect for radio, so I can see why you did the radio for the
Thank you. Yes, yes,
college.
yes.
But also, yeah, you seem like such a fun person, and it's such an engaging conversation, and you enjoy telling stories. And so it was just so great getting to meet you and get this perspective of you outside of your acting.
Well, thank you so much. And to throw compliments back at you, this was such a different type of interview. Normally, they're very park specific. How did it start? And that's all great. I enjoy all of that. But this was just so much more deeper. And this was lovely. This was really great. Really, really great.
Well, I'm glad you liked it. Well, enjoy
Yeah,
your
totally
your
different.
gigs, and I'm excited for whatever you can't
Yes.
say.
Well, the one thing I can say, and I'm going to do it this afternoon, is Aubrey Plaza has a new show. It's called Kevin. It's an animated show. And the cast is unbelievable. It's Aubrey and me and uh um oh my gosh, John Waters and Jason Schwartzman
Oh,
and
wow.
Amy Sedaris and it goes on and the guest stars. I don't think I can mention guest stars yet, but like this is crazy. So I'm going to spend this afternoon in a booth doing my character, which I, I just, again, this is a different type of, I'm not in front of a camera, but I'm in a booth. It's still acting. It's still, anyway, so it's what I love. It's just what I love. So I will have an afternoon filled with playing a crazy, I think I can say I play it. No, maybe I can't say what I play. I don't know if I can do that. But
So can
anyway,
you let us, when is this expected to
this
advertise?
year it'll be 2025. It's called Kevin, based on Aubrey's cat, and it's
Oh my gosh.
yes, no, it's so funny. It's dark. It's dark, 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 which I love. Um, so yeah, yeah. Anyway, so that's the other thing. The blessing is, like today I'll do this. Tomorrow I'm back on set with this TV thing. Uh, I shot a. I don't think I can talk about this yet either, but I shot it. You'll see it soon. A commercial with somebody else from another popular show last week. So there's always stuff going on, and I just love it. I just
Well,
love it, and I'm
you're
grateful.
doing great not saying anything. Another
I know,
un-Jerry
really, like,
thing.
why do I
You're
say
doing
anything if I can't say
wonderful.
anything? But I don't think I'm allowed. Because here's the thing. I got in trouble years ago. I said something on one of the talk shows, like one of the TV ones. And the minute I was off, my publicist is looking at me like, "You shouldn't have said that." I go, "What?" And I forget what the project was. And he goes, "They haven't announced that yet." And I go, "Oh God." So I'm overly cautious. I would rather just circle the tent with what the thing is rather than go in there. Yeah.
Best
I've
not
caused
to,
enough trouble over the years, Danielle.
yeah, best not to be the one who's in trouble.
Exactly.
All
Exactly.
right. Well, you enjoy your time with the voice acting, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Daniel. This was really a lovely, lovely conversation.
All right. You have a good day.
Take
Bye.
care. Bye bye.